Hey, and welcome guys to today's lesson. It's going to be on editors and scriptable objects so that we can create a custom editor for a scriptable object. Now, if you don't know what a scriptable object is, it can be made out to an asset and bundled. So let's show you what a asset is, which is one of these. And in the inspector, we always just contain information, but they can contain even more. Okay. And this can be streamed out to a WW class. If you're not familiar with those, you can look them up. They are for reaching out and grabbing information and passing it into your game. So what's the use of this? Well, the use of this is if you have this type of asset and you have a weapon system that needs the type of asset, you're passing in a reference instead of passing in 100 guns that have all this information. So your memory is a lot cheaper, okay? Because it's a reference to a variable instead of creating new variables. Let's say you have 20 guns in your game, but they all use this asset. They all have the same values. They just look different. Well, if you make it in your script and you just make it public this, and this, and this, your game has to allocate memory for each field that there is in a massive quantity. So if you have 15 variables that you need and you are doing it like 5 times, well, that's 15, 30, and then another 30 because you have 2 more. That's 60 variables. Okay, 70, 75 different variables. But the good thing about scriptable objects like this that are asset files, when you type in a reference to the asset file, like so, it is a reference. It no longer is bound to each individual thing. It uses the variables out of the asset file. So instead of 75 variables you have allocated into memory, it is allocated one time to 15, which gives you very much savings and is double good in every way. So how do we go about making this asset file? It's relatively easy, but I'm going to show you how to make an editor that will create them for you. So we can delete this. It will delete it out of our project. We will say we want a new one, which is AR15. Okay, and we will say save AR15. And it will give us a nice little listing. This doesn't have all the values that you need for the class yet. Like, here's all the values that I have currently in our FPS game, but I have not made an editor for each one of them yet. But I will show you how to make enough where you'll be perfectly fine. So we can, if I drag this out into an undockable and have this highlighted, when we have our scriptable object up here, we can type and it will do all the job that we need it to do. Okay? And vice versa. And we can also delete. And this becomes very easy to work with because you can just pass in what you need. And because it's a scriptable object like this, if we go into play mode and change values like so, if we exit play mode, they save all its values. It does not destroy our changes, which at runtime, we can adjust all our stuff and then exit runtime and it will be perfectly fine. So enough explaining. I think that you guys have all the information you need for this. So we're going to go into the editor script, and don't worry, it's relatively easy. Now this is an editor script, so you'll need it into an editor folder. It's a editor window. Then we have our make weapon, which is a make weapon class, a scriptable object class, not a mono behavior, but it casts to a scriptable object. And we have our values, okay, which we can do more with this, but we don't have to. But you can actually put void calls in here and it will be fine. You just have to learn how to do that, which I'm not going to cover that yet. So we'll have a string here, okay, and our asset right here is just a containing class, because we have to have a container because we're going to save out to something, which is like everything else that we've done in serializing something, saving information in a containing file. So we have a static menu thing. This makes a cool little menu where we can go up and click and open up a window. It has to be static. It can be named open window or anything that you want, because the menu thing pops up due to this. Okay. We do editor window and we pass in a name, and then we get this right here. This script, we're getting the type of editor window of this. And we do the variable that we have this set to, dot show. Now, you don't have to do this, but you will get a warning. That's really annoying if you don't. Okay. And this is another string here, which is for a help box, which is down somewhere. We will get to it. And we do this functionality all in on GUI, which is the intermediate UI system. And this is a check, okay, so that you do not get errors when the window is not so good out of play mode and things. You have to have this here. And what we're doing is setting the string variable here to the asset.name, okay, so that it updates and we can hit delete or create or whatever that we need. It updates the string, and then here's a begin horizontal, pretty easy. So we have to end horizontal. Every time you begin something, you have to end it. Just a button. Make new clears out our values up at the top here. So our asset here will be nothing, and our string will be nothing when we hit make new. So we do a check here of if the asset is null, then we give the ability to save a scriptable object, which this will give you our little .asset thing, our little file that's containing information. Now we do asset, which is our variable, and then we go ScriptableObject.create instance of this class, okay, and it's a function, so it's like calling get component and things. So make sure you have the right braces and stuff. And then we call the asset database, which is only available in the editor. So don't try to do something like this at runtime. it will not work. Create asset, and then we pass in the variable, and this is a string representation of where you want the asset to go. And after we've created the asset, we have to save the asset. If you create it without saving it, it just makes it, and then when you go out of play mode or wherever you're trying to create this, it will just be bye-bye. It won't be there anymore. It'll disappear. So another if statement, and this is for our delete button. If the names and assets are null, then we do not want the delete button to show up. And the delete requires the asset database, which is another editor extension. You have to be in the editor to do it. And this is for this is the file location of it. So we stuff everything in the same location, and the only thing we update is the name of the asset. So very simple, just like targeting something. You're just passing in a target, no big deal. And asset does not equal null. We update the string, which we probably don't need this here, but I'll leave it. Now, this is a object field, okay, and this is not well documented really, but it's a generic object. Everything you could possibly think of could probably be stuffed in an object like this. So in our object, we are going asset, and we're casting it to thing. So whatever we get out of this will always be a make weapon, our object here. FPS weapon script, our serializable asset. We go editor GUI layout dot object field. Because it's generic, we can probably pass anything we want in it. And we give it the value of asset, and we typecast it to FPS make weapon. And I put this false because it's asking if it's a scene object or not. So I put false because it's not a scene object. And this is how you can pass the stuff that is not a text field or a float or an integer. Stuff like game objects, animations, things of that nature, because we do not have an extension that just goes editor layout dot asset bundle dot things like that. So we need something like that. Okay, and this just checks to make sure if it's null. We put a box in there with a message. It's just a help box. We type in a string, which was this string right here, and I put it up here so it'd be easier to type. Okay, message type none, and I wanted it to go to the full length. So it just gives us a nice little editor window that tells us what we need. Whatever we type up here is the information that you get to your whoever's making an asset. So if it's null, it will generate this. But we want to return because we have no asset. So in here, this is our asset code, for doing all our values, passing it into our asset. And that's why we have the return. Because if I do asset dot something, it will error because it does not exist yet, because it's null. And this is a non-null call. So if it's non-null, then we can change stuff, and it will not bug out on us. So this is a pretty easy thing. We pass in the variable, okay? And whatever the variable is, we are going to make sure the layout element Our text field, we give it a name so we know what name we're changing and stuff. And then we pass a value. So whatever that goes in and out will always be the value of our weapon name. So this is a text field. It works the same as this one. Now here's our object field again, except this time we are making it an animation. We're typecasting it to an animation. So here's our variable for our animation, and whatever this part is, it has to be an animation because this generates the window thing so we can edit stuff in the window. That cool little animation drop thing in, like you're dropping animations from the inspector. This is how you draw in an editor window, but you have to do it in an object field because we don't have a layout.animation clip, because that's what it is, and it's not a scene object, so it's false. And then the rest of this is all floats and stuff like that, which all work the same. We're just passing the value around. Here's the variable. Whatever this is right here that you type in, we make sure it's the value of this. Pretty easy. Now, there is one down here that we will skip to because this is all just floats and stuff. But here's a vector 3, which is, it's for a vector 3. Okay. So our value that we need to change and what we're going to be changing it from, which is right here. So whatever we type in the field that is generated in our window, this is the name of the variable and this is the value. So it's really relatively easy and straightforward. Now, here's another float, which is easy again. No reason to explain things 100 times. Now, this one right here is something that you will need. If you need a layer mask, okay, a layer mask, this is for layer masking. And what I mean by layer mask, if you do not realize it, is a lot of times in arrays, we mask out stuff. Okay, and this is how you generate a layer mask in code for our editor window. So to get back to the code part, okay, is we give it our variable, our layer mask, and whatever this field is that we're generating, we bring the value here because we want both these to equal the same thing. We give it a name so we know what it is, and we do editor layout.layer field. And it's very important because this is exactly what this is for, a layer mask. Do not try to use an enum because the enum is generated from a class code, like we did in our other stuff. Where is an enum code thing is used for enum. Where is our enum? Okay, an enum is this. It's expecting you to create a enum. This is bad because yes, a layer mask is a enum, but it's its own version of itself. You do not generate a layer mask from code like that. So we have to make sure that we use the correct one, which is not. So if you type enum in here and you have a layer mask, it will be wrong and things like that. It will be double no good. Doesn't work. You have to do layer field for a mask. Okay? If you are using an enum, like in that class, like here, then it will work. It'll work just fine. But in our case, we are not. So we need a layer mask. If we was going for our other stuff, like this right here, weapon change, and we were passing in this, our weapon type, then a enum would work fine because this is an enum that we created. Okay, it'll work fine then. But in a layer mask, we have to do layer field. And then here is the game object, which is just another object field. So cast it correctly, give it its values that it needs, what it needs to change to and from, make sure they're the same. And it's not a scene object, so type in false. And that is mostly all our editor right there. Now, I know I have more values for my class, but they are all the same thing. See, we just have multiple floats, multiple strings, and stuff like that. But the different types, from game object to vector threes to floats and ints, we needed something for the different types and know how to create them like that. So that's how you do that. And here's our saving method, which we create a scriptable objects instance so that we can call this stuff, which should be perfectly fine and legit for you guys now. Relatively easy. And that's it for this video. This was for our nice little editor that we have so that we can edit stuff in a nice clean way. So when we go to item stuff like this and we want to edit stuff in a nice clean fashion, we've got nice little editors. Instead of doing it all through the inspector and things like that, because here's the inspector version. It's okay and all, but I much rather, if I have to do multiple ones of this, I can make my scriptable objects within, I can make 3 of these and pass in the values and everything and just create like maybe 10 guns in 20 seconds or so. Very, very easy and less time consuming. And the great thing about it is it does not require me to have a bunch of different things. I don't have to sit there in the inspector like this, go up and down or anything. I mean, this is fine and everything, but if I want to just look at this stuff and it does not disrupt me to click on other things, okay? Where in the inspector it moves around, which maybe what you want, but if I do it this way, I still have to go up here and have a code generate something. Then I have to change the name to whatever I want. And then I have to sit here in the inspector and fill out all this information. Like 3 steps versus 1. Make, name, save, make, save. If I want to delete, I don't have to look in this project. If I make a mistake, if I want to go here, delete this one, and delete this one, or make changes, then all I have to do is this. I think it works better, but it's up to you guys. This lesson was mostly to show you guys how to create an editor like that could be potentially, you know, a lot easier for you to work with than the customary natural one, you know, of, I don't know, I just like working with editors a lot better because they're created in such a way to make it faster or slower or more detailed. And in a custom editor, I can add information to say, hey, don't do something, where any other way you just have to hard code everything in, and that is no good. And if you have multiple different types of asset, this will only accept a weapon type of scriptable object. If you make a different type, which I will make a change. Okay, I'll make a change real quick so that we will have a different type of asset. Okay, real quick, this ooh, it's not happy, is it? It was not happy with that. Oh, because that class is not a scriptable object. Okay, that's legit. Okay, that's fine. We can make it into a scriptable object real quick. Okay. I may have to generate a completely different class for this. Okay, so we will go up here and we will do another type of asset, which this is not a that doesn't make sense. Does it always look like it has no monoscript right there, or is it just me? Wait, weapon maker? Where'd my inspector thing go? That one pops up. So, weapon maker? You don't pop up now? Why? Why is that? You should pop up just fine. Huh. Really? Very interesting. Huh. Very, very interesting. So, I guess let's do this. C# class. JJ. Okay, and I know about that one. Okay, and go builder. We will have to go in here to JJ. I will make this a scriptable object class. Okay, and have a public name G for single stuff. Convert the line ending, that will be fine. We'll do asset builder JJ J. And that is the script name, yes. Should work just fine now. Missing a directory thing. Oh, yes. Yes, we are. It's a public string. Go in here. Okay. Why is it saying... Oh. Yeah, that's legit. Oh, come on. Just do it, man. Okay. Okay, so we should be fine now. So, and my whole point of this was in our editor window, if we make an asset that is a different type, like completely different type, like this, okay, completely different type, we cannot stick this in here. It will keep us from sticking the wrong type of scriptable object in here. So that makes it really nice because we can have different types in here. So we're not, it keeps us from making mistakes. So if this isn't an item that is an FPS make weapon, then we can't use it this way. See, no droppy. And that is what I wanted to show. But when you make a scriptable object, you have to make it a single class, one thing in here. This entire thing right here is part of the scriptable object. And as you can see, I have voids in there. They don't do anything. But if in code, let's make a small thing, like let's go into our manager class here, okay? And we will go up to here in code, okay? In our manager, we can hit this and go JJ, names, okay? And then go into here, well, JJ dot do we have to create a instance? Yes, I do believe we do. Okay, create instance, and it is now JJ. We should be able to do something with JJ dot. No, we are not doing that. A public object G, and then we have to go down here and say G equals. Now we can go G dot. Oh, wait. These are not public. That's right. See? Totally messing up already. Public. Okay. And now we can go over to our manager. And I bet we don't have to create an instance first. We could probably just go JJ dot. No, we do. Okay. That's fine. Dot. Huh. Wow. I know you can type functions into a scriptable object. That's kind of crazy. It's public. Wonder why you can't do that. Huh. Oh well, I'll have to read a little bit, but I'm pretty sure. We got create, instantiate, G equals. Maybe we can instantiate it into the world like that. No, creating instance should work. JJ. Okay, and G dot. No? Well, that's a crock, right? JJ dot instantiate. Even if we create an instance, okay. It's requiring a type Oh well. I'll read up on how scriptable objects are part of Unity's little thing. I don't work with them besides in data containers a lot, but I know you can do functions inside of them too. So I'm going to end this video because it's gone by long enough. And for some freakish reason, it is doing little glitter world stuff at the bottom, which I have no reason for it, but thank you for watching. I hope you learned something, and hope I see some cool editor stuff. And you guys, if you guys want more of this type of content, please comment and tell me, so that way I know. So that way I don't make content in the dark, because you guys know what you want to learn. So we'll try to learn something that's needed instead of just anything. But thank you very much, and like, hit subscribe, support us on Patreon or anything. So take care and peace, guys.